So, hello everyone, and welcome back to STW Sports. I'm host Samuel Wright, joined by Cambridge United fan Callum Tofts, and Callum, of course, usually a regular on the show in a different capacity. Today, we're going to speak about Cambridge United's season, which is certainly worth touching on. Cambridge currently 12th in League One. I don't think many of their fans would have expected me to say that come mid-April. A victory over the league leaders away from home yesterday. They've won away at the richest club in the world in the FA Cup, beating Ipswich away this season. Callum, it's been a great season for Cambridge, it's fair to say, and I don't think many Cambridge fans saw this coming.
Including me. Thanks for having me as well, Sam. It's nice to be here again. But where do I begin really on Cambridge's season? I mean, going into it, you had a kind of, a bit of optimism staying up. I predicted us to finish 18th. It's something where you think just staying up would do us, and no one really predicted us to go up last year from League Two into League One anyway. So getting second, could have got first at the end of the season as well in League Two, but finishing second in League Two was a massive. Coming up, lost our main goal scorer Mullen, which personally I haven't think we've lost this season. Personally, but I'll touch on that in a bit. And it's just the whole season. There's been some bad moments. I think of Sheffield United. Sheffield Wednesday away 6-0 loss in. But apart from that, there's not been really major key losses this season. It's been a quite comfortable season, if you can call it that. We've never really looked over our shoulder. I've never personally, as a Cambridge fan this season, kind of thought, oh Christ, we're in quite trouble here. And it's been a bit of an interesting season in that sense, that any time we think, we could lose this, there's some games, we have done, and fair enough. But like you mentioned, Newcastle, Wigan, Ipswich, some Plymouth at home, Plymouth away we drew, and there's been some Ipswich at home, Wigan at home. There's been some really big games where you think we can definitely lose this, and we've done the opposite. We're going to lose most games. We're not expected to win the title or anything, but we've looked really comfortable. And even when we've lost, we've played really well in games where we've just got a narrow 2-1 loss or 3-1s where we've played really well. Just can't put the goals where. That's the difference between top teams and Cambridge. It's been a really very surprising season, I think most Cambridge fans would put it as.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I don't think many people would have expected it, but I think, like I say, Callum, we'll go back to last season firstly. Obviously, getting promoted from League Two, it wasn't easy. You could have won the title. Obviously, you had that dramatic game against Harrogate, which I remember. We, of course, were on the third and fourth tier talk podcast after that game, and I think you were fearing then that maybe you'd blown it. You'd blown the season. Maybe you're going to fall, maybe not fall into the playoffs, but you wanted to go up to League One, of course, comfortably, really, and in a good position. A lot of people at the start of the season were saying, Cambridge and Morecambe are two teams. Will they be able to cope with League One football? Morecambe obviously have now pulled away, but they've been in the relegation battle pretty much all season, of course, and had a managerial change. But for Cambridge, though, three teams who came up last season, Bolton, Cambridge and Charlton, were all in 11th, 12th and 13th. And I think that kind of says really that these teams are capable of making the jump from League Two to League One, when not many people would have, maybe the exception of Bolton, no one really expected any of the teams to really, do so well this season.
It's been a weird, you kind of think more Bolton than such, like you said, maybe their fans maybe expected it a bit more, but they have got the backing and the financial to do it. We've got the lowest salary, weekly salary budget in the whole of League One. That's including Morecambe, Crewe, who've already got relegated, Doncaster, Shrewsbury, all these teams that we've got the lowest budget, and we've managed to stay in this place. And it just kind of shows how good, Mark Bonner's done, the club's done over the last 2 years, the achievement we've had. And, now getting a bit more recognised for it, which I think is a really good thing. But it just shows how good League One is and how good the EFL is. You don't expect certain teams beating other teams. And I think it just shows how good of a job that I think all four teams coming up from League One has done, really, in my opinion. League Two into League One, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to speak about that, Callum, actually. You just mentioned Mark Bonner. I was going to bring him up in the next question. He's a manager, Mark Bonner, who very much goes under the radar. I think most people would usually ask me who is Cambridge's manager without really knowing who Mark Bonner really is, to a point, really, I think. But do you think, obviously, the way the club's, gone up the last couple of years or so, obviously just before the pandemic, of course, you were kind of lounging in mid-table to relegation in League Two. But since then, of course, it's been an upward trajectory ever since. Do you think Mark Bonner obviously deserves his credit, but do you think it's more of a collective effort from the club more than anything? You think maybe that's what people already view Cambridge as, more of a collective club effort than just a manager?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to. As well as Mark Bonner's done, you've got to look at the coaching team he's got with him. He's got Gary Wood as his assistant manager, our former striker Barry Core, who's played for Ireland. Them three alone have done wonders. But then you look at the recruitment, the players we brought in. I know it's last year. Paul Mullen, top goal scorer in the EFL last year. Ironside, 13 goals this year. Sam Smith's done 18 goals this year. Wes Houlihan, one of the best, in my opinion, Ireland players of all time, former Norwich City captain. These players, and then you've got Mitov, who came in 2 seasons ago under just before Bonner came in. Jack Iredale, Okadina, who's done a really good Jones at the centre back as well. Tracy's done okay. Adam May, Paul Digby. It's pretty much a whole new team. I think it has been since the pandemic until now. I think the only player still in there is Liam O'Neill and Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor's been injured most of the season. George Williams at right back coming in as well. It's been such a bit like a revolution at Cambridge. It's been such a weird time for us, but it's more than just the 11 men on the pitch, the one manager and the coaching team. You look at everyone, the club's run so well, in my opinion. It's a family club. It's a community club. We brought our stadium back this year, which I think the owner, Paul Barry's done such a good job in that. Bringing the club together, connecting with the fans again, and really just showing what Cambridge is about. We're not going to be the biggest team ever. We're not expected to be. We're 7,000 people on the Saturday enjoying it and just enjoying EFL football, Excuse me, it's not this massive money spend. We've got hardly no money at all, but there's something about Cambridge that you can never write us off. And I think 3 years ago, when we almost got relegated into back down to the conference, to where we are now, is such a big difference. And in my opinion, that starts with the owners all the way down to people who clean the stand after the game. It's such a well-run club.
Yeah, that's of course a very important thing when you're in the EFL, and of course, and when you've had the story that Cambridge have had in the last couple of years. Obviously, the one big thing this year is fans being back in. I remember last year, Callum, we spoke about a lot which clubs at the EFL are thriving with no fans, really. And I remember you saying Cambridge could be that club who maybe no fans in the stadium has benefited in a way, really. Obviously, I think no one really expected you to be up there, as with Morecambe as well last season. But obviously with that, this season, the fans, if anything, have been an absolute joy for Cambridge. Obviously, the amount you took to Newcastle, obviously you got the Ipswich game, which recently, of course, I know it's a local one, but that was a big away game. And of course, yesterday, taking the, few hundred to Wigan, when you've not really got much to play for at this stage of the season, getting a 2-1 win there, of course, against the league leaders. And of course, obviously, home atmospheres as well this season have been quite highly rated at Cambridge as well. So do you think in a way, though, do you think it's something that obviously, yes, of course, the run started without the fans, but it seems like the players haven't really been affected by the fans coming back in, really. If anything, they've probably used that as motivation in League One.
I think you have to, you look at the obvious last year, we done really well without fans, and the 2 games you were allowed to have fans in during December, during the pandemic, where it was a trial run. We lost, which is quite a convenient thing. And we kind of thought, it's the fans' curse. But I think it's a mixture of many things while we've done well this year. The fans are just loving it, and you can't be critical with this stage of the season. You really can't. And the togetherness of the fans, and okay, you're going to get fans who disagree. That's football. But, we look after each other on away days. We chat, we joke around, and it's just a nice atmosphere as a Cambridge fan. Pretty much all the fans, which is quite a weird thing. And I'm sure, no disrespect to Liverpool, all the big teams, you don't probably know all the fans at the stadium that day. I'm pretty sure we interacted with probably most home Cambridge fans at some point in my Cambridge fan supporters. I probably spoke to most of the ones, I always speak to the ones around me, and it's such a enjoyable atmosphere at games, and you just do feel together. And it's such a nice thing. I'm sure lower league teams, League One, some League One teams, and probably most of all League Two teams can agree. It's such a nice family unit as a fan, and I think it definitely does help the supporters, because you meet the players, the coach. It's a much more intimate experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mentioned then, Callum, about the atmospheres. Obviously, you've been at quite a lot of games this season, but what for you has been the atmosphere this season with fans being back in that stood out for you? What's been the atmosphere that has made you really feel honoured to be a Cambridge United fan?
There's a few. I know you can mention, Ipswich. That was a really good away day. It's kind of a local derby. You expect it. Sheffield, we took a good amount of fans too. I think the home game against Sunderland was really good. We lost. It was still a really good atmosphere, but you can't, even at Luton, home in the FA Cup in the fourth round, we lost 3-0, but that was live on BBC. The support was amazing that night, and it was such an emotional, I say emotional, it was such a really good, and finally getting the recognition we deserve, in my opinion, being on TV in the FA Cup. But the main one, it's got to be Newcastle, 5,000 home fans, which is pretty much what we take to a home game, maybe 6,000 in a home game. We sold that out within, I think, a week, the 5,000, and just being there it's on a different level. Okay, it's a Premier League stadium, you're expected to fill up your away capacity, but it was just such a amazing weekend in Newcastle. From just being there before kickoff, and the atmosphere I was just on a different level that day to what we've ever experienced, what I personally have anyway. The going in front was such a massive thing. The VAR decision, which took 10 minutes to sort out, which was ridiculous, and thankfully we don't have it in League One. It was such a bag of emotions. They've had 2 disallowed goals, the 90th minute saves, the final whistle going. It was just the fans were amazing. We didn't stop singing the whole weekend, I don't think. It was just such a brilliant atmosphere, and it's something I'm pretty sure no Cambridge fan will forget. And the atmosphere was just, there's a league game and then there's that. It's just, you can't describe it into words how good it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely incredible atmosphere. There's no doubt about that. But obviously it's won 4 wins in 5 games now for Cambridge, really. Obviously, for any man, again, you are a team who hasn't got anything to play for, officially safe, of course, can't get playoffs either. Do you feel like the important thing for Cambridge is now build momentum going into next season? And my question, I guess, for you now is, next season, I mean, obviously, I don't want to scare any fans or anything, but we saw Crewe last season get promoted from League Two a couple of years ago. Had a good season last season, Crewe, of course, really well. They finished mid-table, never really looked in any relegation trouble. Then this season, of course, I know teams don't like to focus on other teams, but that is something, I guess, where you say the second season syndrome, as it's known as, can creep in. And do you feel like that's something you've really got to watch as Cambridge next season, or are you mainly just thinking about the positives and maybe trying to move forward, really, and what you can achieve next season?
I think you have to look forward. You can't really focus on other teams at this state, or even next season. I think Mark Bonner's done a really good job in always staying level-headed and really not looking towards other teams. He's really focused on the job in hand. I think that's what Cambridge fans have got to do. Okay, there is the chance that we slip down the table, which I don't think is I don't think it's possible. It's possible, but I can't see us doing. You see some managers or some teams think, right, we've got a really good chance to build on something from next year. I can't see it happening. I think okay, it could happen, but it's just such a different situation, in my opinion, at the moment. We've got the real sense we're moving forward in the club's career and the club's momentum going forward. And I think what Mark Bonner's doing really well now is he's experimenting with the squad for next season. Okay, we know there's a lot of players that's going to be, I think, going to be targeted from us this year to leave. And we need to make sure that if they do leave, we recruit well in the summer. I know Jack Iredale, our left back's linked with Bolton, Preston, Mitov, our goalkeeper, is linked with many teams. Looks like Wes Houlihan's leaving at the end of the season to go into coaching. That's going to be a big loss. There's a lot of, I'm sure, Ironside and James Brophy and possibly some other, Adam May could be linked with other teams. It needs to be something where we stay, keep making sure we're moving forward and not taking the money and then we're going to slip down. Because I think, in my opinion, if the only situation I can see us going into is we lose the players in the summer because of the money, because of the players want to move on and focus more on their career, which is fair enough. We could have a situation where we slip down the table even more again and not recruit well. And I think that's the main thing we need to watch out for next year, is not getting too excited in our own hype in a way. We finished mid-table. We could finish up to 10th if we get lucky with results and everything. It's a situation where we need to make sure, right, we try and match this season. Next year, we move forward. We don't try and go too far. I think that's the main problem with some clubs. They try and push too far forward really early in the League One career, if you like, and get placed or over achieving the first season and then not do well in the second season. So I think we need to make sure we don't do that for next year.
Yeah, and 3 games left for Cambridge this season now as well. Charlton, of course, on Tuesday evening, and then Sunderland away. That'll be a nice away day to finish off with, I'm sure, and one that Cambridge fans have been looking forward to for a long time. And then your last game, Cheltenham, of course, a team who you were promoted with last season, of course, at home. I think, obviously, looking at them games and not really much on the line, but the aim is to finish as high as possible. You are 7 points, I believe, behind Bolton, who were 1 place above you in the table. So the odds of finishing any higher than what you are now are quite low, but finishing any lower as well probably wouldn't be ideal either. But of course, 12th place right now, so you are in that top half of the table. What are you expecting the last 3 games anyway? Do you think it's going to be a case of just playing with a little bit of freedom and maybe just seeing, what the team can do with no pressure really on? But also Cheltenham, I guess, are also playing with no pressure, but Sunderland, though, are playing with something to play for. So we're going to see how you approach all 3 games.
I think, you look at Charlton and Cheltenham, I kind of single Sunderland out for a reason in a second, but you look at them 2 games and they're teams that we could definitely beat, but then we could definitely lose to. Like you said, I think they're 2 places below us on each. They're very close to us in the table. Their teams, no pressure on them, and we need to just make sure we don't allow the momentum slipping, because if we finish the season on a real high, it just seems a better atmosphere in the club. And if we go out losing the next 3 games, it's not going to be that enjoyable. Of course, you look at the season as a whole, but you lose all 3 games and it's just going to be, we could have done really well in them 3 games. I don't know what it seems like. We took the foot off the gas if we lose all 3. I think you look at Charlton on Tuesday is a game to change the squad around, possibly look at players for next season. Bennett came in last Saturday, so did Lewis Simper in midfield against Morecambe and played really well. Bennett got man of the match again, like he did against Plymouth at home. There's players you got to look out for next season, and something, in my opinion, Bonner needs to do, but not change the team too much around. And then with Sunderland, I can see us losing to Charlton and Cheltenham and beating Sunderland. It's the way Cambridge always are. We always seem to somehow, most games out and not, we turn up in the big games, and Sunderland are fighting for something, which Wigan were yesterday. So it really would come down to, who wants it more on the day, and we've got nothing to play for, so we're going to play more freedom. But I just want us to finish the season the way we've played the whole season. No worries, or just enjoy it. It's the last 3 games of the season. We're back again in end of July. Let's just enjoy the rest of the season and see how far this team can go.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a throw-up question now, Callum. That's the end of our Cambridge conversation for now anyway. I'm going to ask you, which 3 teams are going to get promoted this season? Looking very good up there right now in the race for promotion. If you also choose 3 teams right now, though, Callum, who you think are going to be playing championship football next season, who are you saying?
I think you look at the table, I'm going to say Wigan to get the title. I think, okay, they didn't win yesterday, but I think they've had a really good season overall. They're in the position where it's theirs to lose. I can see them winning the league. I think Rotherham are going to finish second. Very consistent all season. They've had a little bit different form recently, but there's a big win against Ipswich yesterday. And MK Dons lost to Sheffield, which really, puts their momentum down. To win the playoffs, I'm going to say Sheffield to win the playoffs. I think, that was a massive win yesterday for them, and it's a really big, they needed that, and they've really been consistent all year. And I have to say, the team that's really seen when playing against Cambridge, they were the team that I thought played the best. They blew us off the park when we were away against Highbury. So we've come to, like, we've been in most games this season, and that one was the one where we were just like, there's nothing we can do. They've got, some amazing players, and they deserve it, in my opinion, to go up to the Championship next year. They've really a very well-run team, and in my opinion, too big to be down here at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, they've certainly picked themselves up second half of the season after Sheffield Wednesday. That will be just, I think right now they are most people's picks to win the playoffs in truth. So I think you've gone for 3 safe options there, that's for sure. But yeah, that's all we've got time for anyway, Callum. Actually, one more question I'm going to ask you actually is, if you could rate Cambridge's season out of 10, what would you give it?
I think you look at the season as a whole, it's a really good question, but I'm going to have to say a 9. I know we didn't get promoted, and a lot of people say, oh, you finished 12th. People predict us to finish bottom of the league and with hardly any wins and down by, I heard someone predict us down by January. And it's like, okay, fair enough. We're not expected to do well, but you can't not say how well we've done this year. The amount of good games we've had, the amount of every time, I said this the other day, people put us, write us off against teams. People were expecting us to get beat so much yesterday against Ipswich, Newcastle. I know it's the same game. Sunderland, Wickham. Okay, we lost to Wickham, but it could have been a lot more. It's just such a enjoyable season. I think every Cambridge fans loved it this year. We've got some big games next year. It seems Peterborough are coming down, which is going to be a very, very good away day, I must say. So it'll be interesting to take 6 points off them next year and enjoy the away day to Peterborough when we leave. It's going to be an enjoyable year next year. I can't wait. The main thing last weekend was getting that 3 points, getting over the line. We're going to enjoy it next year. It's a new challenge. We're going to keep going, and I'm sure Marlborough's got no plans of leaving anytime soon or any reason to take us down to league. I can't see it happening again next year. Maybe in a few years. Maybe we never know. We could be in the Championship 3-4 years time. Who knows? But I'm just excited to be a Cambridge fan at the moment. So I'm going to give it a 9.5 for this season.
Yeah, certainly been a season. Also got the prospect of Derby County coming down, of course, as well. Big club who might have a bit of a financial makeover by that point as well. So that will also be in a way day I'm sure many League One fans are looking forward to. So interesting times ahead, of course, for Cambridge and, of course, many other teams in League One as well. And a big shout out to Cheltenham for the season they've had, because kind of gone under the radar, really. I know they won League Two last season, but for them to be mid-table under Michael Duff, who has, of course, been linked with a Burnley job, but fair play to them. They've had a great season. And, of course, Morecambe, if they stay up as well, then that's another every club who came up last season would, of course, have survived, which I don't think many people would have said with the League Two cohort coming up last season. No one was that convinced with. But every club who's come up, really, I think Bolton are a team who you probably expected to do quite well, but they've also lost a couple of big players as well. So definitely fair play to them, and fair play to the other teams as well. But that's all we've got time for anyway, Callum, on STW Sports this evening. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate having me on.